Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy, the Anime Alba here, coming at you with What If Naruto Was an Uchiha, the movie. Now, this video will be a collection of the first 5 parts of the What If Naruto Was an Uchiha series. Seeing as how the movies and the one-shot, little longer videos are something that you guys like. So I figured if I can't bring you longer videos every video, maybe I'll just do a collection the first 5 to 10 for the other series. So without further ado, the link in the description will bring you to the story if you want to read the rest for yourself. And like, comment, subscribe. And with all that out of the way, without further ado, let's get right on into the video. Naruto was an Uchiha. I'm just gonna talk for a little bit. This is something that I've been looking forward to, and I wanted to do. In the future, I would like to write one myself. And yeah, I mean, honestly, this is gonna replace the Obito series. The Obito series was not doing very well, and it was a little discouraging. I'm not going to lie, because we were close to the end, and it just wasn't doing what I thought it would. You know what I mean? It was barely getting over 100. And for the time that gets put in, I would like to see something more. And honestly, I was getting a little tired of the story, and I wanted to do something new. So I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from and why we're starting a new series when we are. I just want to do something new, and I feel like you guys also want something new. What if Naruto's like Minato will not be ending? That story is just too dang good to cut it like that. So that story will not be ending. However, I do want to start some new things. There's another story that I would like to read that is subscriber made, and that will be getting posted as well very shortly. And yeah, so I hope you guys work with me, and I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from and where I want to move the channel in the future. And I also hope you guys enjoy some of the changes that are being made, because I am trying to adapt and change certain things to make them better so that you guys can enjoy the videos more. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get right on into it, okay? This is the author's point. So first off, this is my first time ever trying to write something. I always have ideas and see ways for it to end. I have trouble finding a start and getting where to the point that I envision. I hope that by starting my own story based on an already created universe that I am a huge fan of and really enjoy, that it will help me in creating my own stories and universes on my own without the need to use one that's already made. With that being said, I hope you all enjoy, and please let me know what you think and how I may improve. Thank you very much. So this story is titled Naruto the Uchiha, and it is by one Moses Ochoa 8. If you want to read the story for yourself, link in the description, you can do that. And yeah, no harm, no foul, no problems. And yeah, so without further ado, let's just jump right in. "Nephew, come over here. Come and meet Naruto," Minato said, excited and happy at the sight of his newborn son. Shisui didn't need to be told twice as he quickly walked over to see his newly born cousin. Shisui smiled as he saw Naruto. He noticed that Naruto had jet black hair with a slight tone of fiery red that streaked through, just like his mother Kushina. Like every Uchiha, Naruto had black eyes, but seemed darker than ever seen before. "He's one of a kind, uncle," Shisui explained with joy at seeing Naruto. Resembling so much of Minato the fourth Hokage with touches of Kushina, no Uchiha shared the same look as Naruto, as none both Uchiha and Uzumaki blood. Nor did any ever have whisker marks on their cheeks. Naruto definitely fit Shisui's statement. He is truly one of a kind. "That he is," Minato said with pride. He turned to Kushina. "Here you go, my love," he said as he leaned over and handed their son to her to hold. Sorry, I got tongue twisted. Kushina was exhausted from just having given birth to Naruto, but holding her son brought a newfound strength and energy as her expression changed to that of joy. She held him close as she looked on to Naruto, while Minato held her in a hug as well. "Hello there, Naru. It's your mother talking to you," she said with a smile and a sing-song tone. It was obvious that she was tired, but she wanted to be with her son, and that outweighed any feeling. Minato was smiling wider than ever before. "Shisui, come for a photo. You should be in it too," he said with a waving gesture for his nephew to come. Shisui's parents had died during the war when he was 5. Minato took him in as they were the only ones left of their family. Naturally, they developed a strong bond that was like father and son. Minato's expressing that he wanted Shisui in a family photo showed him that he still held their bond even though his own true son had just been born. It would be a lie if Shisui said he hadn't been worried that with Naruto's birth, he'd be pushed away and forgotten. Those worries were now cast out, and in that place was happiness and belonging. Quickly, he took his place within the middle of them. Kushina was holding Naruto with Minato's left arm around her and his right hand on Shisui's shoulder, all having large smiles with the exception of a half-sleeping Naruto. "Uncle, I can't wait for him to get bigger. So many things we can do," Shisui said, excited for the possibilities in the future with them all together. "Yes, but don't be so quick to look ahead. Enjoy the moment. Don't take anything for granted, or consider a moment insignificant and turn for another. You never know when it'll be gone. Maybe you would wish to return at that point. You won't be able to. Yeah, I guess you're right about that. Still, as much as he's adorable as a baby, it'll be so much more fun when he's bigger," Shisui giggled while wiggling his index finger around the hands of Naruto, who was trying to catch it. "Minato, I'd like to take some rest." "Take Naruto," Kushina said with a yawn after finishing, as her tiredness had caught up to her. They were in a hideout surrounded by seals and Anbu. She was in a bed but was nowhere near as comfortable as their own home, but it would have to do. After all, the seal that holds the Kyuubi weakens during childbirth. Precautions had to be made. All the people present, along with the third Hokage, knew of where and when this was taking place outside the village. The third Hokage was Minato's advisor and friend. His wife was the lead doctor during the procedure, and that is also how the third Hokage also knew. If the Kyuubi were to escape, everyone knew that no one man could defeat it. The seals around the hideout and within the room were designed to hopefully hold the Kyuubi as well as constantly drain its chakra. It would be in a weakened state upon re-entering the physical world, so by constantly draining chakra from it, they hoped that it could never regain its power or recharge, and potentially can reseal it within another host if they are unable to reseal it within Kushina for whatever reason. Although with a force as that of the Kyuubi, the most powerful tailed beast, everything was speculation in regards to if they could truly hold it back. The only man that had the power to truly hold it back was the Shodai Hokage. Madara doesn't really count, as he couldn't truly hold it on his own. It is true that he could use Genjutsu from his Sharingan to manipulate or even control the Kyuubi, but that wouldn't last. Hashirama could imprison the Kyuubi within his wood-style technique, and that would in a sense be the end of that problem. He could do it to every tailed beast at once. However, that's never been his intent, and he never sought to control them. Minato being present also gave opportunity for him to reseal the Kyuubi. If not, he'd use his Sharingan to buy enough time for everyone to escape before he himself teleports Kushina, Naruto, Shisui, and himself back to the village. If his Sharingan wasn't as strong as Madara's, and currently no Uchiha had a Sharingan that could truly control the Kyuubi. Only two people had the potential to freeze it for a time being, but they themselves would have to stand still as well. They were Minato and Fugaku. Fugaku could control it for a short time due to his Mangekyo Sharingan, but that would drain him of nearly all his chakra, and it would more or less be a death wish. Shisui showed great potential and is currently one of the strongest Uchiha, as he unlocked his Mangekyo just 3 years ago at the age of 7. The youngest ever to unlock it, and not only that, but he'd also been a really gifted ninja to this point in terms of his abilities. A true master of the Shunshin technique, as the only ninja that can use it effective in battle. On top of that, he's a master of fire techniques, as he can do most with a single hand sign, and his mastery of Genjutsu is second to none. Minato hasn't unlocked his Mangekyo and also doesn't use his Sharingan nearly as much as any of the Uchiha. He sees it as a tool to be used, not to depend on. Generally, the Uchiha, upon unlocking the Sharingan, use it every chance they get and in every battle. That leads to someone being entirely dependent on the abilities granted by the Sharingan, and what was once a tool becomes a crutch. Minato gladly took Naruto from Kushina as he rested on her and gave her a kiss on the forehead. He looked over to Shisui when they both felt an odd presence of someone that wasn't there, or wasn't supposed to be there. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Minato stated with a glare to the masked man. He had an orange mask and wore a large cloak that hung baggy, and a hood was up. The only thing that they could tell was that he had a very malicious intent. Given that he was there, it was a safe bet the Anbu won't be responding, as they were most likely dead or incapacitated. They stood still, waiting for some attack, something to happen. Minato had to be careful as his wife was in no condition to fight or defend herself. Plus, he was holding his child. Without taking his eyes off the masked man, he spoke. Shisui, here, take Naruto. I can't risk anything here. I'll be with you shortly. He handed Naruto to Shisui, but before he could say anything about wanting to help fight the man, Minato teleported him with Shisui to their house. Shisui now looked down at Naruto, worried, but knew that Minato was a very capable shinobi. He wasn't Hokage for no reason. All Shisui did was place Naruto down on a bed and remain by his side, since there was no telling what the objective of the masked man was. Now that Naruto was with Shisui safe at his home, Minato felt more relaxed about the situation. However, his wife also still being there made him still worryful. Based on the fact that the masked man didn't seem to care that Naruto was gone, led to the conclusion that he may be after the Kyuubi. With that being the case, now he stood between the man and Kushina and took out one of his special kunai. That jutsu won't help you in this, Yondaime. The masked man said in a deep tone. Minato didn't care to what he had to say, as he was threatening the safety of those he loved. Without even a second wait, he heard the kunai at the man who just stood there. The strange thing to Minato was that it just went right through. He knew this wasn't a clone. It was indeed the man, so he teleported to the kunai and tried to slash at the man, only to phase right through. This doesn't make any sense. What's going on? Minato thought as the man became intangible during attacks. The man laughed. Too easy. And below the two of them, the ground started to glow. This shocked Minato as his eyes widened just before the ground blew up from the explosive attacks. He teleported to a different location in the woods outside the hideout. When did he place those? How does that intangibility work? And what is he planning? Minato thought as he stood up from the kneeling position he landed in. He looked back to the hideout. The seals were gone and he saw the bodies of the Anbu. They weren't dead, but even if they awoke, they couldn't fight until at least a few days later. What was worrying is that he could no longer feel the marker he had on Kushina. Normally he'd be able to sense it no matter where she was or how far. Even if she had died, the marker would remain. Not knowing where she was made him all the more certain that this was the goal of the man. He wanted to separate Kushina from him, and most likely to get the Kyuubi set free. After a few minutes, he could once again feel the seal he had placed on Kushina and teleported it. He noticed a few things. The Kyuubi was set free, and the eyes had a Sharingan pattern on top of that. It was about to kill Kushina, and he grabbed her and shun to the top of some trees. Fast as ever, I see, the masked man commented before warping away. Kushina, are you all right? Minato said with worry all over his face. She looked pale and extremely weak. He knew she would die soon, since any Jinchuriki that gets their tailed beast extracted normally dies instantaneously. Her being an Uzumaki is the only reason she's currently alive. And if he could reseal the Kyuubi right away, she could live, since the chakra would heal her. But if too much time is taken and she's separated for too long, she'll die regardless. With all that considered, he teleported to their home and stood up, seeing Minato return carrying a pale and weakened Kushina. Here, lay with Naruto, Kushina. Minato placed her down beside Naruto. He grabbed his vest and put on his Hokage cloak. I'll be back shortly. And then he teleported to the Hokage monument overlooking the village. A few moments earlier, the masked man warped into existence just outside the village. Summoning jutsu, he said, and slammed his hand onto the ground, and in a large cloud of smoke appeared the Kyuubi. Destroy everything. The Kyuubi started charging a tailed beast bomb and shot it at the monument, to then have a collateral effect of taking out the Hokage building and Intel HQ. However, just before it could hit, it had hit a large seal and started being absorbed into it, and then disappeared, and the explosion was far from the village, but still heard and felt from a distance. I've got to be careful about where I send those, Minato stated, and turned around to see the masked man warping into the distance. Instantly, the man started warping Minato and was just about to send him into his dimension. Until there was a yellow flash and Minato was gone. He's faster than my Kamui. I don't know if you guys can hear that in the background. Somebody just turned the water on. Tired. My bad. Let's get right back into it. Minato landed in a flip and now laid on his back. Damn that ability of his. What is it? He can teleport without seals and apparently can send others away. Where would I have ended up? Minato was extremely confused, and the jutsu that the man was showing made him worried all the more. First was intangibility. Now transportation. Could the two be connected? As he was contemplating all he was learning, the masked man warped in front of him. You are fast, Yondaime. However, this is the end of you. The man was now pulled out a chain and connected it to his wrist with it hanging behind him. Minato noticed that as he attacked, he would be intangible, which meant that he would go through, but then the chains would cut through him. So his intangibility won't let him attack. He must be tangible in order to attack. Still, that's an issue, as he can be indestructible until he chooses. Minato took out a kunai and they charged each other. Back at the village. Lord Third, the Kyuubi's attacking. The Anbu captain said to Hiruzen as he was gearing up. Yes, I sense it. Go tell the Uchiha to evacuate the civilians. Then have them join the fight, but not until everyone's safe. Get any ninja to fight. However, have the younger generation put into a barrier. We cannot lose them to this. Hiruzen said as he finished preparing for the battle ahead. Hi, the three Anbu exclaimed and Shunsui to do their duty. Hiruzen appeared at the village gate and was briefed on the situation by a Jonin. We must hold the Kyuubi back until the Yondaime comes, Hiruzen shouted as he summoned his adamantium staff, and they started the battle. The adamantium staff is nearly indestructible and can expand indefinitely. With those two abilities, he used it to push the Kyuubi back away from the village while the other ninja were throwing jutsu after jutsu at it, trying to help and push it back. It was slow and rough for them, but it was working. They all knew they could never really kill a tailed beast. They were just a manifestation of chakra given a physical form. They are immortal, and if sealed into the Jinchuriki, even when that host dies, the tailed beast would die with them, but reform after a couple of years. Their only goal was to get the Kyuubi away from the village and hope that the Yondaime could do something. Minato versus the Masked Man. The fight had been going on for a few minutes, and neither one was landing anything, since the Masked Man can just become intangible, while Minato was too fast for him. Minato glanced over to the village, and the battle was visible, as flashes of light from jutsus and the roar of the Kyuubi could be heard. His gaze went back to the Masked Man. What an interesting position you are in. You want to go and protect the village, as is your duty as Hokage. However, you can't just let me go, can you? The Masked Man said as he watched Minato looking back to the village throughout the fight. Enough of this. I'm going to have to use Hiraishin level 2. Minato thought as he ran at the Masked Man. They charged at each other, and as Minato went, he threw a kunai at the Masked Man, and it started to phase through his head. The Masked Man was bringing his hand up to attack Minato, while Minato charged up a Rasengan. They kept charging, and just as the kunai finally went all the way through, just before the Masked Man could touch Minato, he teleported to the kunai, caught it in midair, and then twirled his body around and slammed the Rasengan into the Masked Man's back. The man was slammed into the ground as he couldn't react to the speed of the attack and then was on the ground. A Hiraishin seal was placed onto his back. He teleported to that kunai. The Masked Man thought as he felt the pain from the attack and got up to face Minato. It's time to end this. I need to go back to the village, Minato stated before he disappeared in yellow flash, and appeared directly in front of the Masked Man. It slammed his hand onto the man's chest. A seal formed and glowed, and then he jumped back. A contract seal, the Masked Man stated. You're no longer able to summon the Kyuubi, Minato said, and teleported back to the village, leaving behind a flash of yellow. The battle was raging on, and the Leaf were losing many shinobi to the Kyuubi. It was an overwhelming force, and there seemed to be nothing they could do. They were all starting to lose hope. Then there was a bright yellow flash, and from the sky Gamabunta came crashing down, landing on the Kyuubi. Everyone cheered as now the Yondaime had arrived. Lord Fourth, what's the plan? Hiruzen shouted from the ground. I'm going to teleport it away from the village, but it's going to take a little time to teleport something this big. Gamabunta, I need you to hold it down, Minato stated, and he started to prepare to teleport him and the Kyuubi. It was going to take a lot of chakra, and he had already used a lot. Teleporting the tail beast bomb earlier and the Hiraishin level 2 took a lot out of him. Plus, his fight didn't help to conserve energy. You better hurry, I can't hold him forever, Gamabunta shouted as he was struggling to keep the Kyuubi down. And after a few moments, there was a flash of yellow, and the Minato and the Kyuubi were both gone. He did it! He saved us, one of the shinobi said, and all of them started to cheer. Hiruzen looked to a few Anbu, and they knew it was still not over. We must find the Yondaime and provide assistance however we can, he said quietly as he didn't want to ruin the spirits of the shinobi. It was a grueling fight, and they had lost many. My bad, guys. I gotta stretch real quick. I hope you guys enjoy this series because I would like to read more of it. And I also hope that you guys enjoyed part 40 of What If Naruto was like Minato. I thought it was pretty valid. Yeah, and another episode should be coming tomorrow. Hopefully this video gets finished and I can upload it today. I want to get it out around 4 p.m. my time. It's like 1:30 right now. So that should leave me some time to upload it. Also, I'm hoping... So yeah, today's going to be double upload. Tomorrow, I'm hoping to post another video. This one is going to be an entirely different series. This one is going to be... this one's going to be a little easier to catch up on. And I'm going to post the first couple episodes. And then when we catch up to where the author is uploading currently... it's just going to come out whenever he uploads the chapters. So it'll start, and then we're going to wait until he uploads more chapters and to continue. So, yeah, man. Hope you guys enjoy. Let's get right back into it. Sorry for the delay and distractions. They were far away from the village, but still in fire country. Minato looked and noticed that the QB had still had lost the Sharingan pattern in his eye, and that currently it was still stunned at the moment. I've got to be quick. I'll need Kushina to help me seal it. Naruto. I'm sorry. Minato teleported Kushina, Naruto, and also Shisui to his location. He looked at Kushina and had her set up a barrier of chakra around him, and have her chakra chains wrap around the Kyuubi. These chains are indestructible and drain chakra. Not even the Kyuubi can destroy them. They would last as long as Kushina willed them to, so long as she had chakra. Minato began preparing the ritual. Shisui, watch over Naruto, will you? He's gonna have holy heck, I can't speak. He's gonna have a hard life from this point forward. Be his light in the darkness that will surround him. I will protect him with my life, uncle, Shisui said as tears started to come from his eyes. He was holding Naruto, and when everything was prepared, he laid him down on the little bed that was made. Minato went through hand seals, preparing for the Reaper summon. The Kyuubi, seeing what was going on and didn't want to be sealed, and tried to kill baby Naruto with his claw. However, both Minato and Kushina jumped in front of the hit, and were stabbed through the stomach and held the claw in place. Minato finished the summoning, placing the 8 trigram seal on Naruto's stomach, and with the help of the Shinigami, sealed the chakra within himself before putting it into Naruto. The entire Kyuubi was put into Naruto, and now the Kyuubi was gone, but now they were dying. Minato only had a few minutes until he died due to the use of the Reaper seal. Kushina had slightly longer. Is there anything you want to say to Naruto before we go? Minato asked, saddened that this would be the last time he was with Naruto. With tears and sadness, but still happiness of being a mother. There's so much, Naruto. I love you. I want you to be happy. It will be hard, but I know, but don't give up. Being in Jinchuriki is something I would never want for you. It's lonely and dark. I wish you could be in a never-ending happiness and joy full of love, but it may not go that way. You'll have your older cousin Shisui, and he will take care of you. You'll also have Jiraiya later on as well, but don't follow in his actions. They're not appropriate, and it's a shame that he's the way he is. Be sure to be respectful and kind, and hold those people that like you close to your heart, and never let them go. They'll be the ones to keep you in the light. There's so much I wish I could teach you. I wish I could be with you. Kushina said, crying. Minato, I'm sorry. I've taken your time. Kushina said, with tears still running down her face. Minato just smiled and held her close. It's okay, Naruto. Naruto, listen to your mother, and try to take it easy on Shisui, okay? Don't cause too much trouble, alright? He's young, and this will be challenging, but I know you two will be great. How can you be so sure it's all going to be okay? Kushina said, crying. Because he's my son. Minato said with a smile. He looked at Shisui. Shisui, sorry that I'll be leaving you alone now. Please help Naruto through this incredible burden. I wish that the villagers look at him as a hero. Without him, the Kyuubi would destroy the village. Shisui nodded. He couldn't speak as he was crying. He didn't want to see them die. He had always seen Minato as the most powerful shinobi ever, and looked to him as if he were indestructible. Today only showed that no man is immortal, and death comes for everyone. He also learned a rather ironic thing about heroes. They're seen as people who would always be there and can never die. However, in real life, the hero always dies. It's their sacrifice that makes them a hero. With one last hug with them all together, Minato died and Kushina cried even more as the love of her life passed away. Hiruzen with 3 Anbu finally arrived to see Shisui holding a crying Naruto, Minato laying dead, and a barely alive Kushina. Kushina! Hiruzen said as he ran over to her. Minato sealed the Kyuubi within Naruto. Shisui's gonna take care of him. Please, help take care of Naruto. Minato and I wish for Naruto to be seen as a hero for holding the Kyuubi, but if it's possible, try to keep it a secret until he's had time to make a couple friends at least. It's a lot to ask, and I know from personal experience that it'll be hard. Kushina said before going limp. Of course, Kushina. I will do my best to protect Naruto for you and Minato. Hiruzen said a signal to the Anbu to take Kushina and Minato to the village. He walked to Shisui and rested his right hand on Shisui's left shoulder. I just want to say, place your bets. Is Hiruzen going to keep his word in this story? Is he going to keep his word? Or is he just going to be lying? In other stories where he will say that and then not, like in the original. So you think he's gonna stick to his word and protect Naruto or not? That is the question. All right, let's continue. Of course, Kushina, I'll do my best for Naruto. Shisui, this will be hard, not just for him but for you as well. I'm taking you into the Anbu so that your missions are limited and you'll be one of my guards so that I can keep you in the village with Naruto. When he's old enough to take care of himself, you can choose to return to Jonin status or remain in Anbu, but for now it will be this way. Shisui nodded and took it all in. What of his heritage? Hiruzen looked at him and thought, no one can know that he is the son of Minato, at least until he's strong enough to protect himself. Shisui nodded, but him being with me. Yes, we'll cover up the fact that you're Minato's nephew. It's good that your relationship to them was never really publicly known, as even his marriage to Kushina was a secret. Hiruzen said solemnly, so much secrecy had to be done in order to keep those close to Minato safe. But now, the loss goes farther. Sadly, it would make his son never know of his father and mother for a very long time. Only a few knew Minato was expecting a child, one being Kakashi. I believe Kakashi deserves to know. He was Uncle's student, and their connection was strong. Plus, I know he would like to know what has happened. I know he'd help as well, Shisui said, looking at Hiruzen. Hiruzen nodded. As you wish. Is there anything you need of me? Well, where do we go now? I know I can't just go to the old estate, Shisui said, looking down slightly. I'll have a house set up. For now, go to the Hokage office and wait for me there. Hiruzen said as Shisui seemed away. Minato, I will do my best to make your wishes a reality. Shisui sat crying, holding Naruto. He lost the last family he had, but gained another. He still technically has the clan, but that wasn't the same. The Uchiha didn't even know of Naruto, and also didn't know Shisui was the nephew of Minato. Fugaku had been friends of Minato. After all, his wife Mikoto was best friends with Kushina. But Shisui was never around when they got together. Minato wanted to keep the secret of Shisui being his nephew from everyone, since it was safer that way, and Fugaku and Mikoto were the only ones aside from Hiruzen, Jiraiya, and the 3 Hokage guards, and Kakashi, that knew of his relationship to Kushina. As such, they were the only ones that knew that Minato and Kushina had a child on the way together. Although, only Kakashi would learn of Naruto, while the others wouldn't. Kakashi and Shisui were both so young still, Kakashi being 16 and Shisui 10. Naruto, I'll make sure you're strong and taken care of. I know Kakashi will gladly help, Shisui said, looking down at him. The night ended, but there was much to come, as it was only the beginning. Alright guys, so I gotta be quick with recording this because the phone's gotta go back soon. So, let's hop right into it, okay? Kakashi was walking through the streets of Konoha. The damage could have been worse given what happened, but still, after last night it was safe to say that things wouldn't be normal for a while. The loss everyone sustained left them all in a state of sadness. There hadn't been a word yet on how many had been lost. But there were many that got hospitalized. A lot of the survivors could no longer be shinobi as the injuries were too grave. What troubled Kakashi the most was that his sensei hadn't been seen after he teleported the Kyuubi away. No one knew anything. All anyone knew was that the Kyuubi was defeated. Kakashi wasn't dumb, and if he hadn't heard anything then that meant that Minato had died. Kakashi looked up to the Hokage monument, and from his single visible eye, a tear shed as he knew that again he lost someone close to him. Hokage's office. Shisui, sorry to keep you waiting. Shisui stood up upon seeing the 3rd Hokage enter the room. It's all right, Lord Third. The council has been assembled. They must know of what has transpired. That also means that Naruto's status as a Jinchuriki shall be known. And of his parents? That is not necessary right now. Obviously Fugaku knows, but nobody else needs to know. What if he wants Naruto? Hiruzen pondered on that. I feel like Naruto. Oh, that's a line from Trippy Red. My bad. Keep it going. Hiruzen pondered that. He hadn't really considered it before. Surely Fugaku and Mikoto would wish to be able to raise the son of their friend. However, they wished for Shisui to look after Naruto. Maybe we will speak with him prior. He'll respect the wishes of Minato. There was a knock on the door, and this surprised the two of them. Hiruzen gave permission for someone to enter. Ah, Kakashi, what a surprise. What can I do for you? Hiruzen said, honestly, he wasn't looking forward to breaking the news to Kakashi. He lost so much already in his young life. Hearing of more would only worsen things. Kakashi glanced around, and he recognized Shisui. Then he saw the baby, then looked to Hiruzen once more. He's gone, isn't he? Yes, he is. This is Naruto, Shisui said. Kakashi watched over Kushina from time to time, as he was one of Minato's personal Anbu members, and was trusted by him more so than others. Mainly that was formed since Kakashi had been a student, that led him knowing about Naruto's upcoming birth. Also, he now contains the Kyuubi. Come again? Kakashi said, looking up from Naruto and back at Shisui. He sealed the Kyuubi within Naruto with help from Kushina. Listen, Kakashi, I would like for you to help Shisui train Naruto when he's old enough to understand. Minato entrusted him to the two of you. Hiruzen said, I'll gladly help in any way. Shisui and Hiruzen smiled and were glad to know that they had been in the right. Although losing Minato hurt, together they can try and make it all better. Now, to deal with the council, Hiruzen said. It was obvious that this was going to be a long meeting. The council made up of each major clan head, and a few members of the civilian side made up the council, along with the Hokage's advisor. However, since Minato was now dead, the question of who to take his place would be asked. Hiruzen knew he had to retake office, as he knew that Danzo couldn't be entrusted with the position, and no one else really had the support to be Hokage. Orochimaru deserted. Tsunade had no intention of returning after her losses, and Jiraiya had a spy network and would probably not be emotionally prepared to take the seat, as he would soon learn that his student and great friend had died. That, considering the last of the people that were being questioned for fourth Hokage had been Fugaku. He had the power but didn't have the support of the people, or as much support as Minato. Maybe now he could. Then there was also Danzo. He had been gunning for the position for ages now. His love for Konoha was never doubted. However, his methods were never great. Danzo hated and distrusted the Uchiha, and would do anything to get rid of them. He only never did anything towards Minato, since he was the only Uchiha he knew he'd lose to. That and Minato was actually rather different from other Uchiha. For some reason, there wasn't a distrust. Everyone would most likely approve of Hiruzen's decision to retake office, aside from Danzo, of course, but no one would really care about his opinions anyways. 30 minutes later. Thank you all for gathering this morning. I know that last night was hard on everyone, Hiruzen said. The council gathered, and among them was Fugaku Uchiha, Sume Inuzuka, Inoichi Yamanaka, Shibi Aburame, Shikaku Nara, Hiyashi Hyuga, Choza Akamichi, and then the advisors being Danzo, Hamura, and Koharu. Damn, pronunciations are difficult. I think I did a good job. The only one I'm not sure about is the Inuzuka, bro. I don't remember her being that important in the show. I might be tripping, but I don't remember her being like an integral factor in the show. Who knows? I sadly must inform you that there is another loss you must know. Hiruzen looked into space, not looking anyone in the eye inside. The fourth Hokage has died during his fight against the Kyuubi. The room was silent. Their Hokage was dead, and now the village was unprotected per se. The Kage position and person as Kage was the village's shield against attack. They were the village's last line of defense. Without the Hokage, the village is vulnerable. As such, I'll be reassuming the role of Hokage. Hiruzen said, bringing everyone out of their thoughts. Danzo was infuriated, but said nothing, as now wasn't the time. He knew the village needed someone to fill the role, and most of all, he knew Hiruzen's power. Hiruzen wasn't called the god of shinobi for nothing. Danzo and he were teammates, and he got to see his feats firsthand. Hiruzen's reputation would do well to quell plots to attack Konoha. Even in his old age, Hiruzen was still one of the most powerful shinobi in Konoha, and even in the 5 great nations. The other council members also approved of the thought of the Sandaime retaking the position. Hiruzen made eye contact with Fugaku without saying a word, and was able to express that they needed to talk after everyone left. So, what do we do? Asked Hiyashi, clan head of the Hyuga. I'll probably give him a different voice. You just gotta give me a minute to think of one. We rebuild, Hiruzen said. With that, everyone started to leave except for Fugaku. Hiruzen made a waving gesture and the Anbu were gone. What of the child? Child? Bro, can you read? Like I said in the previous video, I wish English wasn't my first language because then I could like make an excuse for all the grammatical errors. But it is. Like, it is my first language. This is what dang. Alright, what of the child Minato and Kushina were expecting? I'll give him a different voice, you just gotta give me a minute. Fugaku went straight to the point as he didn't care about pleasantries at the moment. Shisui, come out. Out of the shadows came Shisui, still holding Naruto. They sealed the Kyuubi into their son. This is Naruto. What do you plan to do? Surely you won't put him in the orphanage. Shisui will raise him. Fugaku looked at Shisui. He had no bad thoughts towards him. In fact, he respected the young Uchiha more than most. His power would someday soon surpass his own. He looked back to Hiruzen. He's still young. I'm more than ready. You didn't let me finish, Fugaku said with a slight chuckle. You're still young, but you will have my support should you need it. Bro, reading is hard, guys. Reading is hard. Reading is hard. Gotta take that picture out. Y'all don't need to know who that is. Alright. This caught Shisui off guard as he was ready to start an argument to get him to approve. I'm guessing that it was his wish. As such, I won't stand against it. Mikoto will be sad. I understand the need of secrecy, and I won't tell my kids of his true heritage. You two can come see him whenever you please, Fugaku-sama. Much appreciated. Dang it, I read the voices wrong. Backwards. So many mistakes, man. I know perfection is not, like, achievable, but, like, man, I would like to be good, at least, at reading. I feel like this chapter is a little smaller, by the way. My bad. Much appreciated, Fugaku said with a smile. He looked to Hiruzen and surprised him once again. So, what is your relation to Minato? He wouldn't entrust his son to just anyone, and seeing as how Kakashi wasn't the one chosen, you must be even closer. Hiruzen looked at Shisui and got a nod. He is Minato's nephew. That explains it. However, it's odd that you weren't around whenever we came. No matter. If that is all, I'll be returning to my family before gathering the police force. Yes, you are dismissed. When he was gone, Shisui stated his surprise at how easy it went. In the end, they were both glad that things went far easier than expected. The biggest surprise of all being Danzo's silence. However, it wouldn't bother him. So when will you tell the council of Naruto and the Kyuubi? Hopefully not for a long while. Let's take you to your new home. My bad. About 10 minutes later, they had finally made it to the house they lived in. It was located near the outskirts of the village, and they had about 4 acres of land. Damn, they got do you guys know how, like, 4 acres isn't, like, massive, but do you know how big 4 acres is, man? Like, I've only lived in one house with, like, an acre of space, right? Had, like, 1.5 acres of, like, the plot, including the house, was, like, 1.5 acres or something like that. 4 acres of land is massive. Like, that is a big piece of, land. 4 acres of land, damn. And they had about 4 acres of land. They were distant in case Naruto ever began to lose control of the Kyuubi. The hope was to limit damage and death, but even so, it would only do so much. I can work with this. Once he's 4, I can begin training him. The space is absolutely perfect. Yes, however, it also serves to... I know, Sandaime-sama. You don't need to tell me. Hiruzen nodded. Also, you now being a Jonin means that we want you to take someone to train. We've selected someone you may be interested in. And who would that be? Shisui said, raising an eyebrow. Itachi Uchiha, son of Fugaku Uchiha. Itachi Uchiha, huh? Interesting. Oh, snap. We are 11 minutes in. I want this video to be like a half hour. So, we will cut it at 56. Yeah, why not? I kind of like I like the 30 minutes to some videos because I actually am enjoying reading this story, so I kind of want to read more, which is why this video is going to come out like as priority, despite the fact that the other video might have been probably the one that should have gone out today, but whatever. No matter. Drop it later. It'll come when it comes. Alright, my bad. Let's continue. In a week, Shisui had his assignment to take Itachi through an exercise that would last 3 days. The goal was to track a target and capture them for intel. During the exercise, he was to teach survival skills and, of course, methods of tracking to hopefully complete the goal. Shisui didn't know much about Itachi aside from the fact that he was the son of the clan head and that he was apparently gifted. This he would have to check out. Itachi was only 5, so it would be interesting to say the least. Before that, however, he had to get situated in the new house and get someone to look after Naruto. He wanted Kakashi as he was the only one he trusted, but this made him wonder if Kakashi and him were both on a mission, who'd look after Naruto. Here as it might, but he's still busy as Hokage, so he wouldn't add to his troubles. Maybe Kakashi trusts someone. He'll have to figure that out. The village was starting to bounce back, pretty quickly too. Rebuilding went on their way, and even some fortifying. It looked like they were planning to expand the walls, especially around the southern region. There wasn't talk as for the expansion of the village was for. Guesses were to just house more and just create more within the village, but it was odd still. There were rumors of a new compound system to take place, but at the moment it was speculation. As the training exercise neared, Shisui had been preparing his tools when he learned the hard way of making sure that nothing was within Naruto's reach. He'd managed to get one of Shisui's kunai and almost managed to try to eat it before he noticed. That would have ended badly. Finally, the day came and Shisui began walking to the house of Fugaku Uchiha. It was located a few blocks away from the police headquarters in the center of the village. Along the walk, Okay, so there's not a compound yet. Along the walk, he noticed that there were people beginning to be more livelier, as most had been mourning to this point. It was nice to see them returning to normal. Time can work miracles in some senses, but soon it would be on to business. However, Shisui didn't always take it too seriously, tending to be a little more lax than most. But now he would see the type of person Itachi was. Ah, Shisui, you're here for Itachi. Good morning, Fugaku-sama, and yes, is he ready? Fugaku nodded. Itachi, Shisui's here. A few moments later, Itachi walked out. He was about 7 inches shorter than Shisui and had hair that reached the base of his neck. Hello, Itachi. I'm Shisui. I'll be training you from now on, Shisui said, holding out his hand. Itachi took it and shook his hand. He looked back to Fugaku and then stood beside Shisui, awaiting their departure. We'll be back in 3 days, Shisui said, and with that, he touched Itachi's shoulder and shunswinged them to the entrance of the forest of death. Do you know your objective, Itachi? We are to track down a fugitive and bring them in for intel. Yes, that is the main objective, so without further ado, let's begin. They opened the gate and entered the forest. This forest is filled with deadly animals and is used for high-level shinobi. No other than Jonin will generally go in there. Some Chunin, but for the most part, not many really liked being in the forest. It is a great place to train, however. They were walking through trying to find some clues. The fugitive was given a 2-hour head start in setting up their decoys and going about their escape. In a way, it was like keep away. The fugitive was never to leave the forest and remained hidden by setting up traps, decoys, and anything to not be caught. There were no rules aside from the restriction of leaving the forest. Should there be confrontation, anything goes. Shisui was going to let Itachi take the reins on this exercise, as he wanted to see how well he would do, offering support when needed. There wouldn't be a point in this if Shisui led, as he had more than enough skills to handle this. Most of his missions were B rank or higher, and these types of situations often happened, especially when dealing with spies. Plus, Itachi being a prodigy, well, he wanted to see about that. Alright. Find something, Itachi? Itachi was reaching into a tree trunk. Hi, a scroll. Itachi handed the scroll to Shisui, who opened it up and looked at the contents. It contained information on the fugitive, saying that he was an Earth-style user and a Genjutsu user. Good eye, Itachi. We've got useful information on our fugitive. What do you think? Shisui handed the scroll back to Itachi. The decoys can be even more intricate, given that we could accidentally trigger a Genjutsu of his. That's right. Keep your senses up, Shisui said with a smile as they moved on. He's got the book smarts, no doubt about that. I wonder about his skills, however. Shisui thought as they were moving through the trees. He smiled when he saw an opportunity. About 50 meters ahead of him, he noticed a large snake. It was half the size of a summoning. That was the odd thing about the forest. All the animals in it were abnormally large, and that's what made them so deadly. As he saw it charging at him, since he was in front of Itachi, he just swung over to the side and turned around to see Itachi make 2 slices through the snake, cutting it into 3 pieces with his Danzo. Not bad. Good job, Itachi. Well, he's got some Kenjutsu training. I could definitely teach him some techniques in that. Why are you smiling? It's nothing, Itachi, but look, there seems to be 2 paths. They dropped down from the trees and now looked at 2 paths where it seemed someone may have traveled. They were in a slightly moistened environment, so the footsteps were easy to notice since they sunk beneath the surface slightly. So, which way do you think? Itachi walked to the one on the left, began looking at it, analyzing every bit he could take in, and the same on the right. The tracks are too perfect on this side. Our fugitive wants to get away. These are as if he stood in place on each foothold. There's no indication that a step was taken aside from the fact that there is a track. Well done, you're certainly right. Given that he's an Earth-style user, it's safe to assume that he manufactured those tracks to hopefully take us off his course. Shisui patted his shoulder, and they began to follow the other set of tracks. Itachi's knowledge and skills were impressing Shisui. The only issue in his head was that he did things solely by the book. There was no flexibility in his thinking. It was good to have that knowledge, but in the real world, it wasn't always black and white. He'd have to try to get Itachi to change that. The tracks led to a river, and Shisui began to get some water and filter it. However, Itachi was still looking around. I think a fish may have left that mark, Shisui said as Itachi seemed to be rubbing the moss on the side of a rock in the river. Itachi looked frustrated about that. So it's not a decoy? Everything starts to look at them. Being able to confuse your pursuers is the goal as it gives many options. I guess I need better tracking skills. You're half right, Itachi, Shisui said, and took a sip of the water. Here. They sat down on the rock that Shisui was on. It's because you're exceptional, Itachi, that it's harder. Having the skills for tracking a fugitive is important, but so is understanding how he thinks. I see, Itachi said and smiled. Shisui stood up and noticed the sun going down. Well, let's move on to the next part of the exercise. Itachi nodded and they began to catch a few fish and set up an area to be situated for camp. Don't the books say not to use campfires? Shisui looked up. You're exceptional, Itachi. I'm inexperienced still. You're right about that. Don't laugh. I'm sorry. It just makes me happy. You've taught me a lot. That's what makes me happy. It's nice to eat a meal with someone that makes you at ease. Itachi widened his eyes in surprise. Eat while it's hot. Itachi took a bite and then looked back at Shisui. I awakened the Sharingan. Is that why you don't want to be at home? How? It looks like you had. That you came instantly to my side as if eager, not out of excitement. He noticed from the beginning. I understand, Itachi. Just know if you ever want to talk about it, I'm here. Itachi smiled. After all, that's what friends are for, right? Itachi nodded and smiled. It felt as if some of the weight that he'd been carrying was slowly coming off. There is a lot of dialogue. A lot. I kind of like it, but there's a lot. Alright, my bad. Suddenly, they heard the sound of swords clanging together and immediately put out the fire and ran towards the sound. What surprised them was to see an Anbu fall into the 6-inch deep stream with a gash on his shoulder. Are you alright? He then noticed that what made him fall was some wires around his ankle, that it cut into him a bit. Metal wires. This can be dangerous. Suddenly, 3 more Anbu dropped in. More Anbu, Shisui said. Hand us the traitor. The middle Anbu, who was also the biggest of the 3, said. What proof do you have to say he's a traitor? He's not quite the traitor, however, he was information in regards to who it actually is. The one on the left said who was the woman of the group. What? That's what you're after? I'm going to Lord Hokage. The injured Anbu said. I'll help you to the best of my abilities. I, Itachi Uchiha, will also help Shisui. Itachi, Shisui said quietly as he glanced over to him, surprised that he'd jump in like this. Itachi was smart and talented, no doubt about that. However, these were Anbu, and this would get dangerous. Suddenly, the female Anbu threw a kunai at the head of the injured Anbu, and he was revealed to be a water clone. Oh well, my wires are covered in poison. He won't be getting far before his body goes numb. The 2 male Anbus charged at Shisui with their swords out, while the female went after Itachi, pushing him back from Shisui. You Uchiha would dare to push your luck and get in the way, she said to Itachi before charging. Itachi kept being forced to back up as she attacked with 2 swords versus his 1. Her attacks were acrobatic, and with the final strike she spun to add more momentum into a powerful swing. Itachi had barely been keeping up and got knocked back with the final blow, giving him some much-wanted space. Sharingan. Itachi said as his eyes changed from black into a spinning Tutomoe. Then she charged once more as she didn't want to give him any time to think of a plan. Now her movements were much easier for Itachi to react to, since he's practically one step ahead of her. His eyes can perceive her movements before it's done. Although now his defense was being strengthened, he still could not get any offense, and since he wasn't exactly faster than her, plus she didn't leave many chances to attack. Having 2 swords allowed her to maintain pressure always, and if parried one blow and tried to attack, he still had a second blade to continue her advance. At this point, it wasn't going anywhere, and she decided to switch it up. She started throwing shuriken at Itachi and directed them with her wire. Itachi would dodge easily, and then she changed the direction with the wire, making them land in trees or rocks. She threw a few kunai with the wire, and those would get lodged and embed themselves on the floor behind Itachi. She keeps adding layers to the wire, doubling or even tripling over each other, creating some sort of pattern. As Itachi kept dodging, she began to try and increase the volume, as it seems like she was finishing off her plan of sorts. With the last few, Itachi jumped through the air, and she had thrown 3 more shuriken in preparation of them. He was forced to spin in midair and dodge the 3. I can see it. So this is the power of the Sharingan. After dodging the previous 3, he saw 3 more. Threw his sword through the centers of the shuriken, and the sword got embedded on a stone, which he landed standing on the handle of his sword. The shuriken had still been spinning, and he looked impassively at her. You've fallen into my trap, Uchiha. She cut a wire beside her. The wires all started to respond, and some were snapping around Itachi, but rather than ensnaring him, all of a sudden wires changed course and caught around her throat and wrist, choking her. How? A few minutes earlier. So Shisui's fighting two Anbu. Yes. Shisui began on the defensive as both Anbu attacked him. They both would strike one after another, keeping him on the defensive. Each strike he blocked effortlessly, and had it been a single opponent, he could counter, but there being 2, the others wouldn't allow that. The bigger one tried to jump up in the air and do a powerful strike downwards, but Shisui sidestepped it. As he was going to slash him, the smaller Anbu launched over the other, trying to stab him, to which Shisui pushed the blade to his left using his tanto and spun to his right, backhanding the Anbu with his left hand. He followed up by sending a right kick to the Anbu's back, which made him fall to the ground. Shisui turned around quick enough to block a strike from the bigger Anbu, and he jumped away. Ooh. Tired. Looks like Itachi has things handled. Guess I'll end things here. He brought his hands together. Teleportation jutsu. Shisui began running around them, and suddenly 2 more of him could be seen to his right. Then another 3 on the opposite side of the Anbu, mirroring the other 3. Then 2 more sets to make it 4 sets of Shisui running around them in an evenly spaced increment. Shadow clones. The bigger Anbu shook his head. No, they're after-image clones. I can't tell which one's the real one, the smaller one said as he blocked a sword strike from one clone on his right. Then a kick from his left. Suddenly one appeared behind him and chopped at the back of his neck, knocking him out. Enough of this, the bigger Anbu said, and slammed his fist in the stream, causing a shockwave which forced water up in the air. He looked up and saw the clones still remained around him, all holding their swords out in front of him, with the blade parallel to the ground and left hand against the back of the blade. How were they still there? Shisui appeared behind him with his tanto tipped to the Anbu's back. My teleportation jutsu has no match, therefore my clones will be destroyed. He heard a loud whistle. Looks like the Jonin observing our training exercises have noticed. He backed off and sheathed his tanto. Upon doing so, his clones vanished and left him alone behind the Anbu. The Anbu went and grabbed his teammate. We will be watching you, Shisui Uchiha, Itachi Uchiha, the Anbu said and shunswinged away with his knocked-out teammate. Who were they? Those Itachi were Lord Danzo's Anbu. I think it's time we start to head back. The exercise is over. Itachi began to take a step when he noticed a sharp pain through his foot and slightly stumbled. Take it easy, Itachi. Let me see. Shisui had Itachi sit down and he checked out his ankle before wrapping it up. It'll be okay. Just stay off it. He took Itachi onto his back, much to his displeasure, which made Shisui laugh. They were finally back in the village, and Shisui asked Itachi asked about why his ankle had been hurt. There's a slight gap in between what your Sharingan sees and how your body reacts. You see, no matter what, your body will always be slower than the perception of your eyes. They get stronger as you get stronger. So I'll always get hurt using the Sharingan? No, you're just not used to the new perception. You adapted quickly, and I'm impressed by that. However, as you can tell, you've got some training to do. Itachi made an annoyed look. Don't worry, Itachi, you'll get there soon. However, what you did tonight was risky. First off, by engaging the Anbu, and second, by testing out an untrained power in the heat of combat. I understand, but I couldn't just leave you to fight them alone, and I had to use the Sharingan. Don't be calling me weak, Itachi. I can handle myself, you know. No, that's not what I know, just be careful, alright? Just remember to never try untrained power in combat. It may have ended alright now, but it's not always going to be the case. I will. Itachi passed out finally, and Shisui smiled as he continued to walk. 10 minutes later, he arrived at Itachi's home, and surprisingly, Fugaku was outside. Back already? How'd he do? He's exceptional, Fugaku. I can definitely work with him, no problem. In fact, I'd like to start tomorrow. Of course, that's really good to hear. You said this was to be a 3-day exercise. What happened? I'm not exactly sure how classified this will become, but I'm sure that what I tell you will be right, seeing as it wasn't too major. We ran into an Anbu, and 3 of Lord Danzo's Anbu. Itachi fought one and handled himself well. Outside of that, I can't really say anything else. I'll take him aside. Thank you. When will you come for him? 8. Shisui shuns me to his house. Itachi, you don't cease to amaze me. I can tell that you and I are going to be good friends. Shisui smiled seeing Naruto sleeping on Kakashi's lap, who was also sleeping on the couch facing the TV. Oh man, he's going to get Naruto addicted to that thing. And alright, so without further ado, let's get right on into the video. 2 months have gone by since Shisui began training Itachi. Their friendship had been growing exponentially as they started being together all the time. Itachi was a true prodigy, as he was like a sponge in regards to anything Shisui was teaching him. Itachi's growth in this short time made Shisui excited to when he couldn't start with Naruto. He knew though that not everyone learns as fast as Itachi, and Itachi is exceptional. What are the odds that Naruto could be such a prodigy? Shisui also was truly thankful of Kakashi for all his help, and less thankful for Naruto's addiction to television. However, unsurprisingly, there came a time when they both couldn't watch Naruto. Kakashi had a few recommendations, but Shisui went with one of Kakashi's Anbu squad members. He actually was quite fond of her, but had not mentioned it. Her name was Yugao, and she was 12 and a master in Kenjutsu, so if she had become fond of Naruto, maybe she could help in training him as well. Shisui felt it was useful to learn from several masters of an art, as you can get different perspectives or techniques. He was heading to meet up with Itachi, this time bringing Naruto. He wanted to introduce him to his little cousin, and show him where he currently draws his strength from. I'm sure he'll accept him. They met up at their favorite training ground, and Itachi had already been there waiting. They smiled seeing each other, and Itachi stood up to meet Shisui. Hey there, Naruto. This is my friend Itachi. Naruto had woken up a few minutes earlier and had been groggy, but all of a sudden started to become energized. He looked at Itachi and stared into his eyes for a bit. Does he not like me? Not sure. Never seen him just stare at someone, Shisui said, chuckling. Suddenly, Naruto smiled and giggled at Itachi and held out his hand to him. They laughed as they noticed how tense they had gotten. They played around with Naruto and he was crawling around trying to grab an ankle or two. Surprisingly enough, he actually started trying to stand up and got halfway up but quickly fell down. Almost that time. He's starting to stand already? Shisui nodded. He's been trying more lately, and it's surprising how he's developing at such a young age. It will be a long while before he takes a step, however. Don't you have a sibling? Yeah, 3 months older. Maybe when they get older, they can be friends like us. That'd be great, but Itachi, there is something you must know. If we're to get closer and your family sees him, what is it? Wait, where was I? My bad, guys. It's a secret, but Fugaku-sama knows. And I'd like you to know as well. Itachi nodded. Naruto is the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Interesting. Is that why you're his guardian? Partly. He's also really my family. I thought that. Yeah, he's my cousin. His father, my uncle, was the Yondaime. Itachi was shocked at learning this. Shisui had been related to the Yondaime. Now learning this, he respected Shisui even more. If you ever need any help, I appreciate it. Yugao should be coming for him soon so we can get to our mission. Itachi nodded and smiled. It's nothing like that. Man, shut up. You don't want to talk. I've seen how you are with Izumi, Shisui said with his arms crossed. Why, you boys, you done? Said Yugao standing in the clearing. Huh? When did you get there? Shisui said nervously. Right now. Thank God. Well, here's Naruto. We'll be leaving and be back in a few days. She took him and nodded. The leaf had really begun to change. The expansion had concluded and now some of the major clans got relocated. It's true that some of the village was destroyed, and the thought process of the relocation was to have the major clans be located much closer to the center or by the Hokage Tower. The Hyuga were moved into a compound both about 7 blocks away from the tower. The Nara clan located near the Forest of Death with the Aburame clan. Coincidentally, Shisui had lived 5 minutes away from the forest, so he would use it for training often. However, he was now the only Uchiha living separately. The southern region were expanded the most, and now it was shown why. The entire Uchiha clan was moved to the farthest end of the village, as well as the police headquarters. Realistically, it made no sense to have them based there since it would be far, and now they weren't centralized. Danzo explained it as being a way to offer the Uchiha more opportunity for training and space for their needs. Fugaku wasn't convinced, however, and knew there was something else going on. Why would only the Uchiha clan be forced to move so drastically? Most of the other clans had already been around those areas and still had some choice on where they'd be, whilst the Uchiha had a mandatory order of living in the compound. Fugaku tried to meet with Hiruzen to try and change it even slightly, but there was nothing that could be done. The village elders forced Hiruzen's hand, and there was nothing he could do. He didn't want this to happen. He didn't share the elders' views or worries. He explained to Fugaku that Danzo has gotten the elders to be suspicious of the Uchiha clan, blaming the Kyuubi attack on them. The Sharingan pattern was seen in its eyes. Although Fugaku was currently the only Uchiha in the village that could potentially control it, and was even one farthest from it, as his duty was to the civilians based on Hiruzen's orders. That didn't stop Danzo from making the narrative of a potential traitor. He pinned the death of the Yondaime and so many others on the Uchiha members. Danzo relocated the Uchiha, segregating the clan to the farthest, most isolated section of the village, stripping some of their power by giving that responsibility to the Anbu. Fugaku was livid. They were blaming his clan for something they didn't do, forcing them to move and also taking away some of their power and influencing the village. Hiruzen could only apologize as there was nothing he could do. Shisui and Itachi had a routine patrol around the border of Fire Country. Generally, they were uneventful and boring for anyone. That was only along the borders of the Wind Country, however. The higher-ranked shinobi will patrol the Earth and Lightning borders. After the war, there were still some high tensions. They arose even more as news of the death of the Yondaime spread, as well as the Kyuubi's attack, and worries that the two countries may try to take advantage of Konoha's weakened state. Sorry guys, if there's any stuttering or maybe slipping of my words, I'm not gonna lie, some of the stories written a little awfully, so I've gotta almost translate it, if that makes sense. I've got to rearrange the words in the sentence. Also, we're already 7 minutes in. My bad, let's continue, okay? The increase in the border presence was to show that despite it all, they were still one of the most powerful villages, which probably is the most powerful village. After all, Konoha managed to win the last 3 wars without use of the Kyuubi, so the plan was to continue on as if nothing happened. Shisui? Yeah, something the matter. Remember when we met? How you knew I didn't want to be home? I said I awakened the Sharingan. Yeah, you okay, Itachi? Shisui stopped walking and now focused on Itachi as they sat down. I awakened it because my dad took me to the battlefield when I was younger. I saw what the war did to people, and I killed a man because he tried to kill me when all I did was give him water. Itachi, I couldn't activate it on will, though. Not until about a month before we met. My team and I were on a mission with the traveling merchant. Everything was fine until he showed up. There was some masked man, and he killed Shinko, the merchant, and my sensei. Tenma asked for my help, but I was frozen, and he got killed and I was spared. From that point on, my Sharingan can be activated at will, and I got left with a deep sadness and guilt, Shisui said. Yeah. You see, Itachi, the Sharingan heightens the emotions felt on the user. The Sharingan's like a window to one's soul, making it visible in their eyes. Shisui, how do you know so much? Itachi, there's a reason that I'm so renowned in the clan. I've achieved the Sharingan and its full power younger than anyone else before. The 3rd level, is that bad? No, Itachi, the true power of the Sharingan. The true power? The Mangekyo Sharingan. Shisui's eyes changed from 3 to Moe and spun as it became a new pattern. Red background with a black shuriken of 4 blades that reached the ends. This, Itachi, is the Sharingan's power at its fullest. Shisui's eyes spun again. Ooh. My bad, guys. Shisui's eyes spun again and reverted back to the 3 Tomoe, then back to his original black eyes. He looked down, not making any more eye contact. I was 7, Itachi. The final stage of the Sharingan, our power only unlocked and lost, and the pain of watching someone you care about die. Is that the cost of power? Pain? Suffering? If only. Listen, Itachi, I hope you never awaken this power. Shisui, can I ask, how did you awaken it? The Mangekyo? Itachi nodded. Shisui took a deep breath, still not looking at him. Like I said, I was 7. I graduated the academy early due to the war. My team and I got ambushed. My friend, my rival, he was better than me in everything. As the attacks came flying at us and we had been running, they were getting closer and closer, and he fell. I could have helped him. I could have saved him, but I was always jealous of him, so I didn't. Figured he'd get... Dang, he betrayed his homie! Oh, no, he didn't. Figured he'd get back up, and he'd be fine, but he didn't. One of the jutsu hit him, and he was gone. Oh, okay. So, this guy was, better than Shisui, and so he, assumed that he was untouchable. Turns out, he was not untouchable. Sorry, guys, if you heard that, that's my water bottle. That actually makes a lot of sense now. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's canon or true to the story, but it makes sense in the story. In this one. Alright, let's continue. Whew. Sorry, guys. Yawning. Itachi and Shisui sat in silence. Shisui couldn't bring himself to look at Itachi after telling him about his eyes and what he had been guilty of. Shisui hadn't told anyone other than Minato about his power. Does it do anything? Shisui smirked slightly. It offers unique abilities to the user. Not two share the same. Generally, it's 2 abilities, but I only have 1. It's in each of my eyes. It's called Kodoamatu Kami. It's a genjutsu that allows me to control someone without them ever knowing. I can rewrite their memories or create new ones. I can literally change one's life, and they'd never know the difference. Itachi's eye widened as he imagined the applications of such an ability. This is crazy, Shisui. It sounds amazing. Itachi, something you must learn is that no jutsu is a perfect jutsu. Every single jutsu, and I mean every single one, has a drawback or a counter. What could be the counter to your ability? My vision, Itachi. My vision. What do you mean? The Sharingan gives heightened perception. The Mangekyo is that 10 times. Everything gets dialed up. That isn't what takes away eyesight. Using the ability given by the Mangekyo does. Shisui, do you think peace can be truly achieved? I'm not sure. Don't get so down, Itachi. Doesn't mean we can't try. The world has so much hatred. It will be hard to achieve, but then again, nothing worth getting ever comes easy, said Shisui and patted his shoulder. I'll always be there for you, my friend. 10 minutes later, they would finally leave and continue on. It had been a few more days until they could return. It would be a few more days until they could return. Damn it, brat, where'd you go? Said Yugao. Naruto, for such a young age, was really quite mischievous and constantly tormenting whoever he was with. That's why Kakashi resorted to TV, as it would at least occupy him rather than have Naruto cause trouble. This time, however, Naruto took Yugao's sheathed katana and crawled away as fast as possible before she noticed. She knew she should have locked it all up, but she needed to have it accessible in case of anything. Plus, she had managed to doze off, and when she woke up, her katana was no longer on the coffee table in front of him. If they ever hear about this, I don't even want to think about it. Shisui and Itachi 2 days later. Shisui stabbed Iwa Nin in the back and looked to Itachi. You gotta pay more attention, my friend. Shisui said, laughing. I know. Apparently not, man. I had to be your hero. You should be madly in love with me. Why are you not? Shisui said, playing around before shunshin? I don't know, bruh. To another two, and 2 slashes left their throats hit before returning to be back with Itachi. Do you always goof off in battle like this? They have the numbers, said an expressionless Itachi. If I were to ever die, I'd like to die smiling, and maybe with a chuckle. Besides, if there was any reason to worry, it wouldn't be talking. Instead, I'd be too busy kicking language. He said, laughing. Besides, these guys are hardly even a threat to most Chunin, let alone us. Itachi could only nod, as he wasn't wrong. These guys were indeed weak and hardly even a fight. If Shisui truly wanted, this would be over in seconds. And he was goofing around. He never let his guard down. He knew a mistake could mean death. However, it didn't stop him from goofing around, so that it sent more fear to the enemy. In a way, knowing that your opponent could end your life whenever they chose to, was literally just toying with you, was far scarier than just outright killing someone. Shisui never gave false hope of a potential victory, only to crush you. He just showed that he could kill you in a matter of seconds by doing the opposite of that and taking his time. Oddly, it always worked, as it generally made them run away after a few were killed. Sometimes they got stubborn and futilely tried, but in the end, the same result remained, and they'd be killed. Itachi was parrying an attack and quickly pierced a Nin through the heart and looked at Shisui as they nodded. Instantly, they looked to a group of 4, and Shisui's tanto glowed red and a flame appeared on the blade. He ran and made a horizontal slash as he crouched down, and the flame arched as it left the blade and hit his target, cutting through and catching him on fire. Itachi had ran behind Shisui and jumped over him, doing the same slash, but since he was in the air, he went diagonal and got a wider arc as it got 2 more. Itachi now! Right. Shisui shunshin? Something, bruh. Body flicker behind the last one, while Itachi charged from the front. Both ran towards each other with their swords out and cut the man with 2 different locations, making him fall to the ground in thirds. Dang, he cut his body in 3. The others that remained immediately retreated, as there was no hope for them. Alone, Shisui was toying with them. Itachi was untouchable, and put together, that was a wrap. They finally left. Shisui said, flicking the blood off his tanto. Maybe we should have done that from the start. So now that we can head home, what do you plan on doing? Shisui looked to Itachi, who smiled. I think I'll take my sister to the park. You? Probably just color with Naruto. Why don't you 2 come with us? Wish I could. I'm not allowed to have him leave the house until he's 4, though. Shisui's house had seals that suppressed the Kyuubi's chakra, should anything happen. Hiruzen forbid Naruto from leaving the house until he could mold and understood chakra, so he could be in more control of it and never accidentally tap into it. It must suck not being able to go anywhere with him, Itachi thought. Well, when he's older, let's get them together. Shisui smiled and agreed. 2 years later. Dang, guys, we just had to be right in the middle of where I can stop the video and where I can't stop the video. Because I don't want to stop the video before at least 20 minutes for you guys, because technically, I just like my videos to be at least 20 minutes or so. But also, we're at 16 minutes. So it's long enough that I don't want to start reading and not finish. Actually, no, we got a little more to read. We'll get to 18 minutes of reading, and then I'll close the video. So yeah, let's do that. Naruto was now 12, and Naruto was now 2, and Itachi was 12. Shisui and Itachi continued to become even closer and trusted one another with their lives. Naruto's never-ending energy continued to grow and would keep Shisui up till midnight a lot of the time. Shisui began having Naruto chase him around the house to try and drain his energy, which worked at first, but Naruto just got more stamina out of it, and it became more ineffective through time. Naruto's growth in stamina, energy, and even comprehension surprised Shisui a lot. He knew that he held a lot of potential. The energy and stamina would come in handy. No matter how much he expended himself during a day, he would be completely replenished and recovered no later than the next day. With that type of recovery, training could be to insane levels constantly, and he'd be just fine. Aside from taking in his stamina and energy and recovery, Shisui just loved watching Naruto grow every day. He took in and cherished every moment with him as he grew up. He learned that in an instant, everything could change. He wasn't going to take anything with Naruto for granted. For Itachi's birthday 2 years ago had taught him an interesting genjutsu ability granted through the Sharingan. Alright, so that's 18 minutes. So that's 18 minutes of reading. And with that, we're going to stop the reading. I hope this video is like 20 minutes. If it's 19. I'm just going to put this video together after I do the reading and recording portion of that. So we're going to hop right on into the video, okay? Flashback. Hey Itachi, come here, will you? What's up? I have a gift for you, my friend. Shisui said, smiling wide. Itachi looked around and got confused. What is it? You know you didn't have to get me anything. Itachi was honest. He never expected anything from Shisui. They were best friends, and having him at his side was enough. The same could be said from Shisui. Yeah, I know, but I'm sure you'll get some good use out of this. What is it? Itachi got really interested, as Shisui always was pretty serious about giving him some of the most useful things. Stuff that Itachi used on a regular basis. I'm only able to teach you this because you're pretty skilled on genjutsu like me. Itachi smiled. However, you're nowhere near my level. Shisui said, puffing out his chest and flexing a bit. You goof, Itachi laughed. However, he knew that Shisui was better than him in every category. There wasn't an area where Itachi surpassed him. This technique is called demonic illusion, mirror, heaven and earth change. It will allow you to, if placed in a genjutsu, copy it perfectly and reflect it onto the caster as if you were the original. All it takes is having the Sharingan. It takes half the chakra than that of what the original caster used to cast it, since you pretty much just swapping places, if that makes sense. You'll need the Sharingan activated, and if you happen to make eye contact with them in the genjutsu, then instead of half, it only takes a quarter of what they used. Wow, Shisui. You don't need to say anything. It's a really good technique that I'm sure you'll get some use out of. At least now, instead of just breaking genjutsu, you can make it your own weapon. Shisui said, smiling. Shisui, this is your own technique. And who else better than my best friend to have the technique? Flashback end. The same year, since Itachi's birthday landed on June 9th, he decided to return his gratitude by teaching Shisui a jutsu of his own creation. Funny enough, Shisui's birthday was 9 days after Naruto, that being October 10th and 19th respectively. Flashback. Hey Itachi, what's up? Itachi had him meet at their favorite spot. They trained a lot here. It was a clearing that had a ravine that cut through it. On one end was a waterfall that made a river. At the bottom of it, and on the other, it went on until eventually it dropped off. Before them to enter was some woods, and on the other side of the ravine was another clearing. I finally decided what to have as your gift, Itachi said, smiling. Before you say anything, you did the same, so don't turn into a hypocrite now, he said with a chuckle, as he now knew Shisui couldn't refuse. Alright, you got me. What did you have in mind? My exploding shadow clone that has all the uses and pluses of a normal shadow clone, however, can detonate and make a devastating explosion, depending on how much chakra is put into it. Holy, Itachi, you're insane, Shisui laughed. I accept though. Flashback end. Man, we're having a lot of flashbacks because there's another one coming up, part 3. They had been getting increasingly stronger. Shisui was now bordering on becoming the strongest Uchiha, Itachi being a close second. Neither one cared much for that title, but always helped each other. Whew. Sorry guys, those are yawns. I just woke up. They always traded jutsu and taught each other all kinds of different techniques that they happened to learn or witness. They were fire jutsu powerhouses, genjutsu masters, kenjutsu masters, shuriken jutsu experts, masters of the Uchiha style, interceptor fist taijutsu, and even had some skill in fuinjutsu. Last year they made a breakthrough on a really stale jutsu that every single shinobi knew, that being the substitution jutsu. It had been during a sparring session in the Forest of Death. Bro, another flashback. Another flashback. Itachi and Shisui were going all out during their sparring session. They always pushed each other to the limit and didn't hold anything back. They knew the limits of the other and never did anything lethal. However, they weren't shy to throw jutsus at each other. Shisui launched a fireball jutsu at Itachi with a single hand seal, and it went flying at Itachi. He didn't have enough time to dodge since he wasn't anywhere near as skilled in the Shunsui as Shisui, and the jutsu was too close for him to simply evade at top speed. So he was forced to do a substitution. Upon seeing this, Shisui frowned. You know, Itachi, there has to be a better way about going with the substitution. Itachi stepped off of some bushes as he understood that the spar was over. Generally, in some of their spars, one would get an idea they'd work until they could make a breakthrough, or whether it worked, or, if possible, then find ways over time. I don't know. What do you mean? Well, think about it. A shinobi from every part of the world knows the substitution, and every single shinobi does it the exact same way, losing a log. Oh no. Sorry guys. It's now predictable. What if we could find a way to change it and also have it be something so different that it throws them off? How would we go about it? Itachi asked as he now got curious. He too could agree with that it was indeed a predictable jutsu. They had been walking through the forest and came upon a clearing. It was a murder of crows. That's what it's called? Okay. They were all flying around and doing different things, going in different directions, and it was rather distracting. You tried to follow one when another crossed this path and diverted your attention. You both came to the same thought of what if they used crows as a substitution? Bruh. That's cold. I'm not gonna lie. That's cold. They looked at another one and began saying all the possibilities where they could implement crows into their style and just the pure utility of using crows. One thing was for sure. They'd be able to really wreak havoc on their opponents. Using the crow substitution would cause confusion and be a great diversion. The crows could also be trained to cut the enemy. The use of genjutsu made possibilities limitless, as it would go so far as they could imagine. Couple those together and an enemy would never know if it was genjutsu or a substitution. This would be an extremely advantageous, as you never wanted your opponent to know your jutsu, as it offered them a chance to develop strategies. Maybe even clones could be made of crows, similar to how clones could be made of elemental chakra. Instantly they began testing things and trained in implementing crows in various ways. Another benefit was using them as messengers instead, since all villages used hawks. Using a crow would allow them to always make it to their destination, since no one expects a crow to be used. There's so much excitement for the uses of this new technique that all stemmed from the thought of improving and diversifying the widely used substitution jutsu. Flashback. And so that's the end of the flashback. I'm finna take a sip of my water. Y'all finna do the same. And we finna wake up in this morning and get this video out. Alright, let's get back in the video. It was 2 a.m. and Shisui managed to get Naruto asleep at 11, so he was enjoying his sleep. That was until there was a tapping on his window. This jolted him up as his shotting gun flared to life and got ready for a fight. He relaxed when he saw the crow. Itachi, what's wrong? Shisui knew where to go and got things then left to their spot. It was their favorite, not only for its openness and even the diversity it may offer, as there were woods, the ravine, many different opportunities were granted for training. The other main reason was that it was really secluded and no one ever really went there. They could be alone and talk about whatever they wished without fear of anyone listening. Shisui approached Itachi, who looked really worried and distraught. What's wrong, Itachi? Shisui, things are about to get bad soon. What do you mean? The clan's getting infuriated and might do something. What? Why? As you know, the clans pushed to the outskirts of the village, stripped of political power, and lost a lot of responsibility within their police force duties, and have been started to be doubted and suspected as culprits of the Nine Tails incident. Shisui nodded as he heard this. He didn't know how it was affecting the clan since he didn't live with them. He was the only Uchiha member that wasn't in the Uchiha compound, and that was because Naruto being the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. They were by the Forest of Death and in their own secluded area. That served to aggravate the clan, as they were forced to up and move while other clans didn't have to and didn't get quite as strict rules, nor did any lose political power or responsibilities. That's not what is leading to the actions that may be made. It is part and is what is sowing the seeds, but the rise is due to the Uchiha members going missing. This revelation shocked Shisui to his core. He hadn't been aware of the members of his clan disappearing. He didn't hear any harm coming to his clan, but he was on the complete other side of the village. He never knew what was going on. From the sound of it, Itachi had only recently become aware. The clan is thinking of revolting. They want their power back. They want to have it all back. They want retribution for the ones that caused the disappearance of clan members who are most likely dead. Itachi said, looking down. If the clan takes this course of action, it would be devastating for both sides. And in the end, the village would fall. Civil war would weaken it, and the tensions with the other villages would have been increasingly rapid since the Nine Tails incident. And the civil war would cause them to jump at the opportunity and crush us. Itachi nodded. Shisui understood the situation clearly, and there would be a serious issue soon. They got worried, and Itachi didn't really know what to do. Shisui, what do we do? The concern evident. Honestly, I don't know, Itachi. This isn't like preparing for any other mission. This is delicate and could very well pave the future of the village. Then Itachi looked down with tears forming. If Shisui didn't know what to do, then what was he supposed to do? Shisui was always the one with the answers. Always. And the one he could go to. If he didn't know, then was it hopeless? Shisui noticed what Itachi must have been thinking. Don't worry, Itachi. Remember when I told you that if there is a way to find peace in the world, we find it. And I believe in that. Itachi nodded, feeling reassured by Shisui. He always knew how to make some dire, helpless situation become less so, and make him feel like he could endure anything. How he would need that. We need to gather intel and find any piece that may lead to the plans of the clan. Also, who the ones planning this are. We also will need to look into the disappearances, and if we could find out who's behind that, maybe we could end all of this. Itachi nodded as he understood Shisui. Naturally, he would be the one to gather intel within the clan since he lived in the compound, while Shisui would try to find out about the disappearances since he was outside. One more thing, Itachi, Shisui said in a serious tone, more serious than ever. If worse comes to worse, we'll need to pick a side. The both of them looked into the starry sky. I know. Guys, I have a quick question, and I believe that this is factual, right? So, if we Google this, how old was Sasuke during the Uchiha Massacre? If we Google this, bro, Sasuke was 7, right? And then if we Google another thing, which I know the answer, but we're still going to Google it. Much older is Sasuke than Naruto? If we Google this, Sasuke is a couple months older than Naruto, which means Naruto was 7 at this time. He wasn't a baby or a toddler. Like, he's probably 6, or, maybe if we say this happens far before that, he was like 5 or 6, right? He's not a baby. He's a toddler to a child. Toddler-child kind of mixed. Like, he's not a baby. Like, he's not the kind of guy that still needs his Pampers changed. He might still wet the bed every now and then, but he doesn't need his diaper changed. Shit. He can go to sleep by himself. Tripping. I think the story forgot about that fact. I don't know, man, but I think they forgot. Naruto's birthday's next week. As you know, he'll be turning 6. Told you. If it happens a little earlier, it's got to be 5, right? Excuse that. How far into the video are we, actually? 13 minutes? Alright. We'll crunch this out to 30. This is the 2,000 subscriber. This is part of the 2,000 subscriber special. And so, it's got to be special, right? So, we'll do half-hour videos for each video. Yeah. So, it's 3 videos today. So, half-hour videos for each video, plus the live stream is probably going to be coming at like 6 or 7. And we'll do the live reading. That'll be a long reading period. Yeah. Today is going to be filled with stuff. Alright, so let's continue, alright? 17 minutes of video to go through. Itachi. Yeah, Shisui. Itachi could see Shisui running towards him. It was a funny sight to see, the way he was running. If someone that didn't know him were to see, he would never guess he was a shinobi, let alone the most powerful Uchiha currently. 2 more years had done a lot in his development. Itachi, who used to be a close second, was no longer so close. He didn't mind, though. That was never his goal. Naruto's birthday next week. As you know, he'll be turning 6 and can leave home. I'm still figuring out where to take him, but I want you to be there, Shisui said, smiling to his best friend. Of course I come. You can bring your sister if you like. With that, Shisui shunswined off and was gone that instant. Itachi laughed at his friend's antics, and it brought him some joy despite all that he was going through. Everything with the clan continued to get worse, and it seemed that nothing was going to change its course. They'd been very worried that this could happen, but now that it was, Itachi didn't want to think about that. He knew soon they'd have to do something. However, Shisui assured him that he had a plan if all else fails. He had an idea on what it was, but didn't know how it would affect Shisui. Whatever it was, he'd be by his best friend's side. His thoughts went to his sister. Should he bring her? It would be an interesting first meeting since she'd go to a birthday of whom she didn't know. That'd be awkward, right? Well, actually, calm down, Itachi. They're still kids, so it's not awkward. You could just go up and be like, yo, you want to be friends. That's just how it goes. My bad. That had to be awkward, right? Whatever choice he made, he would go and be there. He got to see Naruto every now and then, and when he stopped by at Shisui's. Damn, I missed my chance of asking if he would invite Yugao. Itachi chuckled to himself. He knew Shisui had some feeling for the Yonbu, but never acted on them. Does she really? Wait. Who does Yugao? Who is it? Yeah, Hayate. She fucks with... excuse my language, guys. I'm sorry for that. But she messes with Hayate Gecko. Yeah. Not Shisui, bro. I'm gonna Google who did Shisui like, though. Shisui... Bro, Shisui literally had a whole girlfriend, bro. He had a whole lady. Yeah, Izanami. Yeah. Shisui's girlfriend. Like, come on, guys. Let's think about this. Wait. Kinana Hatake, bro. What the heck? Yo, there's a lot of things going on right now. Yo, there's names. Yo, my man Itachi was a certified lover boy. He was all over the ladies. Excuse my language from just a second ago, though. My bad about that. Let's just continue. Hokage Tower. Sandaime-sama. Shisui said, bowing. Yes, Shisui-san. As you know, Naruto's birthday's next week. Would you be able to come? I know he's very fond of you and would like to see you. I wouldn't miss it. I'm sure you're trying to figure out where to go. Yugao was telling me that she might have accidentally got him hooked on ramen. Maybe Ichiraku's. Hi, yeah. Kakashi gets him on TV first, and then she goes and gets him addicted to that stuff. Shisui said, shaking his head. I know if it was up to him, he'd eat it every meal of the day. Every day! It's not even healthy at that point. Hiruzen chuckled at seeing Shisui's behavior. He always was a goofy ninja, but he was one of the most loyal shinobi he ever had. He knew that Shisui would walk 1,000 miles of fire and burning coals if given the command. Yugao was an Anbu and was currently one of the Hokage's guards. She had snickered at hearing the conversation. In her defense, she didn't purposely get him hooked. She just didn't feel like cooking, so she stopped at Ichiraku's and took some to go. Little did she know the little rascal would love it and be addicted to it like a drug. That reminds me of Hokage-sama. If you see her later, could you extend an invitation? Why don't you just ask her yourself? Shisui gulped and got really nervous. He didn't know that Yugao was above watching and listening, but thinking about her got him nervous all the time. Because... he said in an oddly high-pitched voice. Hiruzen was dying on the inside. It took every shred of him to hold the laughter. He knew very well why Shisui was nervous, and as such, was trying to tug some strings, since he obviously knew that Yugao was above them. Because why? Just Hokage-sama, okay? Shisui forced out, fine, haha. I'll be sure to let her know for you. Thank you. Shisui disappeared in a puff of smoke. Ah, man, if only he knew you were just above. Oh, Hiruzen said, laughing as he could no longer hold it in. Yugao blushed as she could figure out what happened and why he was nervous. Maybe this was the event that could get them together. She was fond of Naruto and he seemed fond of her in return, so there was no issue. The only issue was that Shisui seemed nervous to tell her, and she wouldn't ever tell him, so they were at a crossroads. I thought Shisui was, knowledgeable in the arts, but apparently he's not. Apparently. Whatever. Let's continue. During her time watching Naruto over the 6 years, she and Shisui got closer. She started to like him probably around 4 years ago. She had suspicions that he liked her as well, but only now was that confirmed. She remembered how Shisui teased her to no end about Naruto stealing and hiding her katana. She was running around frantically and only managed to find Naruto. He couldn't talk, but she knew he understood very well what he did. He had such a devious grin and eyes that had pure mischief in them. That boy was a thief. And Shisui walked in and saw Naruto with that look and knew something was up. That's when he heard the situation and burst out laughing like no tomorrow. He kept it between the three of them. And she was glad for that, but he never let her live it down. The funniest thing was that Naruto hid it in plain sight. So he did that purposely, as you generally wouldn't expect it. Your mind instantly looks for what would be a good place out of sight or offered cover. However, he would use that against you and place things in plain sight since he wouldn't expect it. Shisui didn't know how Naruto could plan that, but when he did it repeatedly rather than it just being a one-time fluke, he knew that Naruto understood very well what he had been doing. Ever since Naruto was 3, Shisui taught him all about chakra. Not use, but just the knowledge. And he didn't want Naruto to start on that just yet. He did start Naruto's kendo training as well as basic taijutsu forms. There was an interesting development that forced Naruto to stay home at the age of 4. Shisui really wanted to take him out and have fun for his birthday, but it seemed fate had other plans. On his birthday, he awakened the Sharingan at 4. It was a scary moment to Shisui since Naruto was in danger, but traumatizing to Naruto. He had been so happy at the beginning of the day. Wait, what? It was a scary moment to Shisui since Naruto was in danger, but traumatizing to Naruto. He had been so happy at the beginning of the day. Okay. So he awakens his Sharingan at the age of 4. That's crazy. I want to know, who was the youngest to awaken the Sharingan? Who's the youngest to awaken Sharingan? At the age of 10, this guy awakened it. No. How old was Itachi when he awakened the Sharingan? 8. 8. I don't know, bro. It's not like a straight up answer. It's like a bunch of links. And I'm not about to click on some links. That's for sure. Because I don't feel like doing that. For real. Alright, flashback. Naruto, you ready? You're gonna miss your own birthday, man. Shisui called out laughing. Naruto was taking forever to get ready. He couldn't blame him. This would be the first time leaving home, first time in the outside. It was a big moment, one Naruto had been anxious for ever since he could understand. Naruto finally came into the living room wearing a black sleeveless hoodie with an orange t-shirt underneath, as well as black wristbands and black shorts with black sandals. That is a lot of black. So he's got a black sleeveless hoodie, right? So it's just a cut shirt with a hood. So black sleeveless hoodie, orange t-shirt underneath, right? So is it a zip up or is it like just a straight hoodie? You're not gonna know. He had a black wristband, black shorts, and black sandals. So his pants was black, his armband was black, his sandals was black, and his hoodie was black. The only other color was orange. Whatever. You look good, Naruto. Thank you, Nissan. That brought a smile to Shisui. They were cousins, but he was happy that Naruto saw him as a brother. Oh, crap. Hey, there's something I have to go do real quick. I'll be right back. Wait here, alright? Oh, man, make me wait longer. You're cruel, you know that? Naruto said, holding back a laugh. I'm sorry, Naruto. It'll be fast, I promise. You better. Shisui just laughed and ruffled his spiky hair. Hey, I'll be back before you know it. Naruto watched as Shisui disappeared in a puff of smoke and was fascinated by how he vanished. Annoyed, he went and sat on the couch. About 10 minutes later, he heard the lock jingling around the door, and he thought it was Shisui. Nissan, wait, who are you two? Those two had masks and black cloaks on. He had never seen anyone with animal masks before. Well, he did see Shisui's old one and Yugao's before, but those had some color, some identity. These masks were blank, stripped of their individuality and colorless. They just stared down at Naruto. He didn't know what was happening, but he felt something bad was going to happen. He had no skills to defend himself. Yes, he was learning, but that wouldn't matter, not against these guys. If they wished him harm, he was powerless and could do nothing. He was trying to think of what to do. He was scared. He started shaking, and they were releasing some weird feeling that he had never felt before. It was like they could put their thoughts and feelings of wanting to kill him into the atmosphere, for him to feel and crumble under. He fell to his knees in so much fear. He was crippled. He couldn't move a muscle. All he could do was watch as one slowly started walking to him. He watched as he drew his katana. It was a beautiful blade. Naruto loved looking into the blades of different swords, always feeling like it held a different story, never thinking he'd look at one in this way. The sword's tip was facing the ceiling, and an emotion started coming down to cut his head clean off. Naruto watched, and at first it all happened so fast, until it was about 8 inches away from his neck. He looked at the blade, and it felt like time slowed. He could watch in extreme detail as his death approached him. For some reason, he couldn't close his eyes, but they also burned. It was an odd sensation. Naruto wanted all of it to end. Then there was a blur in front of him, a clang sound, and the two intruders were dead. He blinked a few times, spacing out. Couldn't hear who was calling to him. All he heard was muffling. His vision was failing, and he started to fall back. Shisui caught him as he passed out and noticed how Naruto had now awakened his Sharingan. Naruto, I'm sorry. Shisui started to cry. He never imagined someone would attack the house. For 4 years, there were no incidents. He got complacent, a mistake he'll never make again. Now there was an issue at hand. First, he would figure out who those worked for, since some seal activated and their bodies disappeared. Second, Naruto would begin training his Sharingan every day. He wouldn't leave the house until Shisui felt he could defend himself enough or get away or for help to arrive. He also wanted to have Naruto's Sharingan potentially fully developed, but if not, that was fine. At least the Tsutomoe will allow him to keep up with most Jonin, but he needed to work on his speed. With the Sharingan, he could perceive moments slower, since you're able to see ahead in a way. This allows you to defend and counter if your body is fast enough to keep up. Otherwise, you suffer a fate that all Uchiha suffer one day. That is, watching their death in complete slow motion, helplessly. That's gotta be terrifying. We are 26 minutes in, and I'm thinking about ending it here.